It's a new year, so it's time to talk about some new gear. Hi, my name is Justin, and in this channel we do videos about photography, filmmaking, travel, and of course, gear. That's why in this video we are going to be talking about the new DJI Pocket 2, which I got as a Christmas present from my wife.
Merry Christmas! It's a DJI Pocket 2.
Now, there are a couple of things I want to get out of the way before we get started. The first one being that I don't own the original Osmo Pocket 1, which means I won't be able to do a side-by-side comparison between that and this new model. But I will, however, be able to give you the reasons why we decided to go with this one versus the now cheaper and still very good camera, still pretty good camera, the Osmo Pocket 1. Next is that what we're going to be unboxing today is this standard kit and not the creator combo, which I'll also be explaining later. So if you're someone who's on the fence trying to decide whether or not you should be getting the standard kit or the creator combo, be sure to stick around for that as well. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at what comes inside the box of the standard kit. In the box, you'll find two smartphone adapters, a lightning adapter and a USB Type-C phone adapter, which you'll use to plug the Pocket 2 to your phone. You'll also get a wrist strap, an original DJI wrist strap, a USB Type-C to Type-A cable, I think it's a power cable. You'll also get the mini control stick, which is a very important attachment and the one which is most likely to be on the Pocket completely 100% of the time. You'll get this 1/4-inch tripod mount. It's just it's a mounting base and not the tripod legs itself, which comes with the creator combo. You basically replace the base that comes with the Pocket out of the box with this one, so you're able to attach the Pocket 2 onto any of your tripods. Of course, we have the Pocket 2 itself. You also have this carrying case, which serves a lot of purpose. So if you look closely inside, you'll notice that there's a notch for the wide angle lens, which does not come in the standard kit, only with the creator combo. And then you have two slots there where you place the two smartphone adapters from earlier. And then of course you're able to store the Pocket 2 inside for more protection. And of course you'll get some documentation as well as a couple of DJI stickers. The next thing we'll talk about is the setup space. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm sure you've watched lots of videos about the Pocket 2 already. But the initial setup stage was something I didn't see too much of in the other videos that I've seen, so I decided to include it in this video because I had a particularly interesting experience with it. So right out of the box, you'll be required to plug in the Pocket 2 onto your smartphone in order to register it to the DJI Mimo app. So the instructions were fairly straightforward. Use the correct smartphone adapter, plug it into the Pocket, connect your smartphone and download the app, and then you're done. But the only problem was I spent about 1 hour trying to do this. See, when I plugged the Pocket 2 onto my smartphone, it was charging my phone, but when I opened the app just failed to detect that the Pocket 2 was connected at all. So I started searching online about this particular problem. I thought it might have been a Huawei specific issue, so I tried to turn the developer settings on my phone in order to control that. Even more stressful was the fact that the Pocket 2 kept showing there was this warning that kept showing on the bottom of the screen saying that I only had 5 skips or 5 tries left to skip the process. But eventually what did fix the problem to me was simply just removing the phone case, of my phone before attaching it to the pocket. And when I did that, eventually, everything sorted itself out. It was pretty smooth. The app was able to detect the Pocket 2 immediately, and it downloaded the firmware after that. And that's how I've been using my phone every time I need to attach it to the Pocket 2. So that's something to keep in mind should you run into this problem as well. So after that agonizing initial setup stage, like any normal person, I grabbed the Pocket 2, went outside, and tried to see what I could do with it. And here are the quick results after about 1 hour of playing around with it. We are testing if you can vlog with the Pocket 2 with a crying beam bum on your one hand and while you're holding the Pocket on the other. It's the ultimate test. So I played around with just the standard settings that it came with. I used it on auto. I turned on pro mode so I could control the exposure. I shot in the standard color profile, also in the flat Cine D profile, which if you're into video editing is extremely helpful for when you're color correcting and color grading your videos. I also tried to see if I could use the audio that I got from it. And you'll hear that in the video that I played. But more about that later on. So moving on, let's talk about my initial impressions, starting with the build quality. Now the Pocket 2 is made out of this matte finish plastic, which is definitely not cheap to the touch. It feels premium in your hand. I also like the matte finish because it's not a fingerprint magnet like some of the other more glossier finished products out there. I am not, however, too much of a fan of the rubbery texture material here. It's a tactile texture here in the control area. I find that it gathers dirt a bit too much, and I think that it's one of the things that will wear out later on. Now when it comes to stabilization and video quality, I'm gonna go right out and say that this thing is amazing, and the quality of the videos and the kind of footages that I was able to get out of it immediately just really blew me away. Like at times I felt like it wasn't even my shots. Like I didn't think it was me shooting the camera, because they were just some of the most stabilized footage I've ever seen and I've ever shot. I mean, the videos looked so professional without even trying, and I bet if you still tried to mess it up, it would look great. The Pocket 2 also shoots in 1080p, 2.7K, and 4K, and even more impressive at 60 FPS, which none of my mirrorless cameras can do at the moment. In Pro mode, you'll be able to unlock a lot of extra settings that make shooting with the Pocket 2 even better. Things like the Cine D color profile, which I mentioned earlier, is a flat color profile that's extremely helpful for color correcting and color grading. You'll also be able to manually control the exposure of the camera. You'll be able to adjust the shutter speed and ISO. Moving on, let's talk about some of the features that made us decide to go for the newer model over the original Osmo Pocket 1. Starting with the sensor size. Now the quote, "bigger is better" might not always be applicable in all aspects of life, but in photography and filmmaking, you'll know that a bigger sensor is an advantage no amount of software will be able to compensate for. That being said, the new model, the Pocket 2, has a bigger sensor size over its predecessor, which means it's able to give you better image quality and will also be able to perform a little bit better in low light conditions if that's what you need it for. Also, the Pocket 2 now has a wider lens on it at 20mm versus 28mm on the original Osmo Pocket, which basically means it's gonna be easier for you to hold this at arm's length and be able to shoot yourself and show more of what's behind you instead of your face filling up the frame too much, which is the case on the original Pocket, making this perfect for vlogging. Another important update on the new Pocket 2 is the lens's aperture. This now comes with an f1.8 lens versus the f2.0 on the original Pocket, which gives it a slight edge over the original model in terms of low light performance and shallower depth of field. So one of the decisions you'll be facing when thinking about getting the Pocket 2 is whether or not you should go for the standard kit or the creator combo. Looking at the items you'll be getting from the creator combo kit, you're definitely getting more than what you're paying for per item. I mean, I was actually very tempted to add to our budget just to get my hands on the do-it-all handle as well as the wireless mic module that came with the creator combo. So why then did we go for the standard kit? First, while the wireless function and wireless capability from the do-it-all handle was very tempting, I learned that you can just easily get around it by using a long USB-C cable, which is going to be considerably cheaper than the do-it-all handle. Next, as cool as the wireless mics were, we already had some really good shotgun mics and lav mics that we could use with our other cameras should we need to record something with audio or dialogue in them. I also found the way that the clip-on mics looked to be too funny, too distracting to actually shoot with. We primarily got the Pocket 2 to serve as sort of a B-cam for B-rolls and some quick and easy hassle-free shots for times like when we're at the airport or we're boarding a plane or in transit or we're in more confined spaces where literally pulling out the mirrorless cameras and shooting with them and repacking them all while pushing our luggages is going to be too much of a hassle. The Pocket 2 is so small, plus it's got that wider focal length now, which means that holding it at an arm's length is going to be perfect and easy, and at that distance it's going to be able to pick up our voice perfectly, so I didn't see the need to actually use the wireless microphone to shoot someone from very far away. Besides, it's just going to be us talking in front of the camera most of the time anyway. The third and one of the biggest factors for getting the standard kit is of course the price. The standard kit will cost you about 17 to 19,000 pesos, while the creator combo will be about 27 to 29,000 pesos depending on where you purchase it, which means that's a 10,000 peso difference for something that we assessed could be bypassed with just a USB Type-C cable, which I'll only be needing for my overhead shots anyway. Speaking of accessories, there are in fact a few of them that I think you should be getting that are not part of the creator combo, starting with something very simple like a screen protector. If you'll notice, the Pocket 2 has this LCD screen in front of it, which is going to be super prone to scratching with all of the putting in and pulling out of the case action you'll be doing with it. So getting one for this and not necessarily the lens is going to be very helpful. Second, and what I think is an even more important purchase, are variable ND filters or ND filters in general. And I got this one from Case Lens Filters. This is a variable ND filter. It's a variable ND 2 to 400. And I opted for this one instead of individual ND filter pieces, primarily for portability reasons. I only have to bring one filter instead of multiple pieces of items. Now, why do you need an ND filter? Well, if you're shooting film and you want to achieve that cinematic look, you'll want to follow something known as the 180-degree rule. The 180-degree rule is a standard in the film industry that states that your camera's shutter speed should be set to double your frame rate so that you would achieve the most natural motion blur that the human eyes are accustomed to. For example, I always shoot and work at the 24 FPS timeline, which means I need my shutter speed to be about 1/48 of a second or 1/50. This means that my shots if in broad daylight is going to be extremely overexposed. This is what it looks like without the ND filter on. With the current settings, I am overexposed by plus 2.7 on the exposure scale. And in order to compensate that, I use something like this variable ND filter. which is magnetically installed, which I can then use to just turn, adjust the exposure, how the exposure levels of my camera. So you can see how helpful something like this is going to be. So instead of raising the shutter speed, you'll want to use an ND filter, or in this case a variable ND filter, in order to decrease the amount of light that comes in, so that you'll be able to keep that 1:50 shutter 1/50 shutter speed. Now the 180-degree rule can sound a bit complicated, but it's actually pretty easy to understand, but that's a topic that we can reserve for another video. So now the next things that we're going to be talking about are questions that I got from social media. Starting with this one, audio quality. Okay, so right now we're recording with the DJI Pocket 2, and a few days ago put out a question out on my Instagram to ask people if there was something they wanted to find out about the new camera, and one of the most common questions I got was particularly about the audio quality of this gadget. How well does it perform under normal conditions? That's why I decided to do an outdoor test for this camera. It's a windy day, there are cars passing by behind me. We'll try and see how well the microphone will pick up the sound or isolate my voice against them. So yeah, this is the audio test for the new DJI Pocket 2. I'm speaking through as you can see, I'm speaking through a mask. We'll see how well it registers on the Pocket. Okay, so right now I'm standing on the right side of the Pocket 2 and I'm speaking directly in front of it, and this is how it sounds. Mic test 1 2 3, mic test 1 2 3. Now I'm standing on the other side of the microphone and I'm speaking directly to it, and this is how it sounds. Mic test 1 2 3, mic test 1 2 3, mic test 1 2 3. And now we're doing a test from behind the Pocket 2, and this is how it sounds. Mic test 1 2 3, mic test 1 2 3, mic test 1 2 3. And now we're doing the standard way of using the Pocket 2. This is how it sounds. Mic test 1 2 3, mic test 1 2 3. Now, based on those videos, I'd say that the microphone and the audio quality on the Pocket 2 is actually really good. It's pretty good for vlog type situations. One thing that I did find out from those tests is that the way you hold the Pocket can affect the way it picks up the sound. Like, you might inadvertently block one of the microphones, which can affect the sound quality, which happened in some of my recordings. But other than that, if you're holding the Pocket 2 at this length, I don't think you'll have much of a problem with audio quality. Next question. Is it easy to transfer videos from the Pocket 2 to your phone? So if you're into mobile videography, you shoot with your phone, edit with your phone, you'll be happy to know that transferring videos from the Pocket 2 to your smartphone couldn't be any easier. You literally just have to plug the Pocket 2 onto your phone, access the videos through the DJI Mimo app, and you'll be able to transfer it and edit the footages on the video editor of your choice. It's that simple. So, would I recommend the Pocket 2? Definitely. This is not just a very capable Bcam. I can actually see it being used as your main camera, especially if you're not doing professional work anyway. This is the perfect vlogging camera. The image quality is very good. The videos are super stabilized. You're able to shoot at 60 FPS. It really opens up a whole new world of possibilities in terms of filmmaking. Especially if you've never shot with a gimbal before, this can be a very good entry to that kind of shooting. It's also the perfect overhead camera, which everybody knows setting up an overhead rig can be super tricky, can be very frustrating to do. But with the Pocket 2 size and weight, its f1.8 aperture and wide focal length, I can easily replace my mirrorless cameras with this one without having to worry about loss in image quality. It's just gonna make my life so much easier with this tiny camera. The DJI Pocket 2 is such an incredible addition to your arsenal, whether if you've been shooting with your phone or like me with mirrorless cameras. It just offers a whole new dimension of shooting which you won't really be able to get with traditional or conventional handheld shooting stuff. And it's such a small package. So, are you getting the Pocket 2 or the older Pocket 1? Are you going with standard kit or the creator combo? Let me know what you think of the Pocket 2. Comment them down below. Again, my name is Justin Espejo, and if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And as always, thank you for watching.